I'll tell you, the only reason we're doing video is because normally me and Clark are in the room together and we can read each other better. But because he's in Arizona right now, we're doing it. So don't worry, we're not going to throw the video up on Twitter without telling you.
Okay.
That's a
we just released his audio, but because I sold my soul to corporate overlords, I have to be in Phoenix for a third of the year. So,
Well,
and it's the hot
thunderstorms in Phoenix right now. So,
where are you? You have a little southern twang, my friend. Where are you from?
I'm originally from Mississippi.
Okay, all right.
But
yeah, it was that was a real injury, and I listened to that episode and I thought it was very good and very funny. You guys are great. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And I as I'm like listening, I was like kind of answering the questions. And my husband's like, they can't hear you. I'm like, I know, but I need to tell them. And then I sent you guys an email. Yeah. So I am a crazy Halloween fan, and I throw, when it's not a COVID year, I throw a really, really big Halloween party at my house. I've been doing it for 17 years now.
Oh, wow.
And we do like the whole house. Like, it's basically like a move, because we like take everything pretty much and we change it, and it's all like a haunted house, and it's special effects, and it's really fun. And it's just because I'm obsessed with Halloween. I've been collecting stuff over the years, and I build stuff and I make stuff and I work in film. So
since she was 4 years old, in case you're doing the math.
No.
Oh, wow.
No, I wish I was. But anyway, I was, even though I knew I was leaving for Canada to shoot just a few days after the large Halloween party, I was still like, I'm still going to do it, and I can still make it to Canada, and I'll be fine. And the night before the Halloween party, so I have a pool in the backyard, and I had this vision to make it like a Pirates of the Caribbean set. And I built like actual like theater flats, and it was like this whole thing, and we had all these skeleton pirates, and I had like movie lighting, and I was lighting it, and I like took a step back to like get a picture with my cell phone to make sure I was happy with the lighting, and I forgot the pool was behind me when I took that step back, and I just like fell backwards into the pool. In October, which actually isn't that cold. I'm in North Carolina, so it actually wasn't too bad, but it sort of happened before I even knew what was happening. I was just like underwater in the dark, so it was nighttime, and I like get up and I'm like laughing at first. And everyone that's with me, they're kind of like, okay, she's laughing. And then I took a step on my, leg, and that was even in the water, and I was like, oh, fuck, I think I broke something. And I've never broken anything before, but it was a pain like nothing I'd ever experienced. And the very first thing, I'm like, fuck, I'm leaving in 2 days to go shoot a movie. How are we going to shoot this movie? This, like, please just have this be a little twist, a little sprain, something like that. And so went to the ER and was there.
When did you first text me? Were you on the way to the ER? Were you in the ER? I just remember this frantic.
I think I might have been in the ER, because I didn't want to like say anything until like I knew it was actually worth saying something about and making our director like, get worried or upset. So yeah, I ended up, in the ER for many hours, and at 2 in the morning, they let me go with a giant brace, and they were like, well, they did x-rays. They said, it's not broken, but it's very likely that you have like a torn ACL or MCL, and you're going to need to come back for an MRI soon, like in the next couple of weeks, so that we can figure out what the treatment will be for what you have. And I couldn't do that because I was leaving in 2 days. So I was like, well, I'm going to take this brace, and I will see you in a month. Like, that's all I can do. Like, there was nothing else really to do. So we decided to just roll with it. And wasn't maybe the greatest decision, because I ended up having to have knee surgery after, because like being in a brace for a month is like not good for your leg, like for anything, like stops other muscles from working, and you like,
sure.
Yeah. So so that I had, it was a little laparoscopic surgery, so I don't want to like make it too dramatic. It was not a big deal.
We love medical talk on this show, so please.
It wasn't very exciting. I wish it was. I was under for some amount of time, and when I woke up, I was cold and emotional, because that's always what happens when they give you like the anesthesia. But and then it was a lot of physical therapy after that, and my knee is fantastic now. It's as if I'm like an 85-year-old woman. I'm like, I only feel it on the rainy days, but So we had to like Mehran, we were like, we got to rewrite this character a little bit.
Yep. I mean, we did discuss pushing the film off, but you were like, no, we're going to do it. But I mean, we considered
we had everything paid for and lined up, and this is a low budget, like it's not like we could just easily just shut everything down and make it happen again. Like we would lose a lot of money and
and we didn't have the kind of insurance that would basically cover production while we waited. Like,
we're not that fancy. So.
Yeah. And also, it's interesting. Like we're talking about it right now, and it started like an interesting conversation between Russell and myself, because Russell was like, "I think it's real," and I was like, "I hope it's not real. I hope she's fine." But I mean, like I think it's definitely the right call to make, and you being the champion you are, you battle through it, because otherwise. If this was a bigger production, like, obviously, we're looking at, liabilities and then, legal situations and trying to get in there and, put their fingers in the situation. But you guys, see, that's why we love independent film. We get stuff like this,
Now, I want to mention, the film is streaming right now, and everybody listening, you should go rent it on Amazon. And I do want to talk about things that could be spoilers, but I mean, I know the people listening to the show, they're smart and they could roll with it.
Some of them are smart.
True. And I really have to mention that, found footage, just the format is constantly in a struggle with being believable. Like you're asking people to buy into this alternate reality. And I really think your injury helped. And there's a moment that I think about. There's a shot of you doing a seance in the basement and you trying to get on the floor. It looked so hard, but it read completely real. And it was like, it wasn't comedic. And it was cool. I've never seen anybody with like a leg injury get down on the floor to like try and contact the phone.
It was hard.
But I mean, it didn't ruin the tension either. It actually kind of added to it because we're in California. We don't have basements here, but like the idea of one going underground and you're kind of limited in how you can escape, but knowing that you had trouble even getting on the ground, getting up and running up the stairs just seemed like it wasn't a plausible escape for you. I don't know. I really liked it. And now don't take this the wrong way, but if you heard the episode, I mentioned that we got to talk about the YouTube opening. Now, I wasn't familiar with the MindSeed TV dude, but the minute I looked him up, I understood. And I'm like, oh, this guy's huge.
Yeah.
He's got such a following. And I understand, like, why you would want to bookend or even present the film the way you did. But you kind of put the narrative in a tough position of constantly checking against, like, another reality. Because we had the YouTuber who was reviewing the footage, and he was putting the weight of this is real on the film.
Yeah.
And I mean, found footage, we already have that weight, but I felt like it really doubled down.
And then also adding the whole dark web element as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was actually, so that was not written in the original version of the script. We were actually in Canada on our location scouting trip like 2 months before we started shooting.
Yeah, and you were telling me that you had come across some of this stuff.
Well, it was because, so the house that we shot at in Canada is actually my family's, my relative's cottage. It's actually been in my family for many, many years. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to shoot there, because it's like, hey, it's free. And it's got all this old shit in it. And, really my family pretty much only uses it for like family reunions and stuff like that.
Great location.
Thank you.
Yeah, also, when I was watching the film, I could feel that it was real.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's real. And it is scary in its own right. Like, there's definitely
That basement's creepy.
Well, yeah, but because it felt genuine. It felt lived in. Like this place has a history. So many times we look at locations. That's a huge part of location scouting, right? You want to make sure that you get some sort of genuine lived in feeling from that, and we definitely get that from this cabin.
Honestly, the distance is what really made me believe it was real, because it felt like. I don't know if it was just the filmmaking, but it felt like you all were way out in rural Canada. And I'm like, I feel like it could have been an Airbnb anywhere.
Yeah, we wanted to show the journey up there. And Llana was so good about, she had been there so many times, she kept telling me about these various aspects of going up there and of visiting this place. And it is rural. And so then when we went and scouted and I saw how far it was, I mean, it definitely was important on a couple of reasons. Number one, to show the distance. We kind of got really lucky with the fact that there was like no snow when we, like literally the day we arrived, and then we had snow like right away. And it worked so perfectly to show that snow, because as we're driving up there, we get into that snowy landscape, and it really helped transport everything.
It also adds another layer of like, you can't get away. Like, I mean, I'm from the Bay Area, and I've never lived in like, I don't know what winter means. And
he's uncultured, is what he said.
Yeah, exactly. And the idea of like, oh, the roads could be snowed over, and you have a leg injury, and you're in a basement.
Yeah.
It just felt like you guys were screwed.
Mm-hmm.
But again, back to the MindSeed. I'm super curious how you guys hooked up with them.
Yeah, so what I wanted to say was, so we were in the house there for our sort of location scouting trip. We were like booking all the, the little shop and all these, other various locations we wanted. And we were staying in the house, and we were blocking it like while we were there, like Mehran, myself, and our other producer, Kevin, the real Kev Mo. The film is very meta. It's kind of about the three of us. So we all went up there, and they were really scared of everything because they're both kind of city boys. Like Kevin's from Orange County, California. Mehran's from Chicago.
Not scared, cautious.
What?
Okay. Not scared, cautious.
Yeah, okay. They're like horrified of like the sound of crickets and stuff, like just freaking the fuck out. And like, one night I actually, like, we went for a walk and we were shooting on the street, just kind of like running through some of the scenes and how we would block it on that road. And I decided to go run in the corn. And this is like September. It's just like a field of corn. And I run in the corn. And they were like,
nope.
I was like, I wish I could like play. I have the audio. It's very funny. The two of them were just like, let's just fucking leave her because I'm not going in there. I'm not going in there, man. Like they were just freaking out. I stayed in there for a while. I'm not afraid of corn. But that night, we're sleeping in different rooms, and they have the room with the two beds, and I'm like in the other room next to the pink room in the movie. And I'm like trying to pull up some creepy sound effects like on YouTube to like scare them. Like if they heard like a moaning or something, like would they freak out? And then I could like shoot them freaking out. I thought that would be funny. And as I'm looking for creepy sounds, like MindSeed TV pops up, and I'm like, dark web, what? And I like start watching, and I'm like, Mehran, this is how our footage is found. Like we should try this. It wasn't immediate that week, but we started talking about that. We were like, hey, let's just like reach out to the dude and see if he'd be interested. And, so we did, and he was interested. He's a pretty cool guy. And there is actually, if you go on his channel on YouTube, there is an episode, I forget what it's called. It's like Most Extreme Dark Web.
It was like Halloween of 2019.
19.
When he did it, yeah.
Where he actually does open everything. It's what we show a tiny bit of at the beginning of our film. Like he calls back to, on my last episode, I found this and this and this, right? There actually is an episode.
It's like a half-hour deep dive he does.
That is literally just all evidence that we sent to him from props that we were going to use in the film, and he made a whole entire episode about it.
Oh, wow.
Like, again, a year before the movie was even released or something.
Yeah, so a lot of people still kind of actually think it's real, and he hasn't really come out and said either way on his end, which I think is kind of adds to it all.
Yeah, perfect.
If you read the comments, you have so many people who are like, wait, does this have something to do with the Curse of Aurore movie? Or like, he doesn't say a word, and I kind of like that. So, but anyway, that's the long story of how we got Casey and why we decided to have those bookends.
Well, that's the way to go. We spent a lot of time recently talking about the Blackwell Ghost franchise because we've sort of are late on that, and we've gotten it in the past few weeks and love it. We binged all 5 movies within like 2-3 days, and he does that same thing. So he's playing games with the Facebook community and getting everything going. So I think that's a huge part of the subgenre of found footage.
Yeah.
Yeah, YouTube it's really opened up a whole new path for like ways to like incorporate like verisimilitude in just like it's people filming themselves. And I think the one thing about the Mind TV dude, is I think he was just so popular that people started copying the like Dybbuk box kind of thing where they open it up and they're like, oh, there's a ghost in here. And I had never seen his production of that, but I'd seen a lot of people pretending, because normally when me and Clark are hanging out, we look for the YouTube videos that have like 50 views, but it's people trying to imitate that, because that's where the real entertainment
That's where the good stuff is.
Yeah, and that's really all I've ever been exposed to. But man, it looked so well produced opening up that film. That juxtaposition was just jarring. But you know, honestly, the leg injury really helped me get back into it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It seems like you got a lot of reality peppered in your script. Now, how scripted was your movie? Did you do like a loose thing with a lot of interpretation, or?
No, it's very scripted. I mean, probably 95% scripted. I mean, I let the actors sort of put it in their own words sometimes, but we're very on book.
Yeah, we did casting online. We got submissions from, all over the country and some outside of the country. And we went with Jordan Kaplan, who's also in Hell House LLC 3. He plays the character Matt, if you know that film.
Yeah.
So he had a little bit of a found footage presence, which we really loved. But he just we said our real Kevin is from Orange County. He's not so much of like I don't know what you call Jordan. He's like just very hippie, and like real Kevin is a little bit like that, but not to that extreme. But we just thought this guy like exudes LA so perfectly.
Yeah. Kind of like the LA version of Kevin, even though Kevin is from out here. He's like the more LA dude version. And
Jordan Kaplan in real life is like probably one of the like nicest people like on the planet. And he was really good at playing a little shit that was also, I thought, kind of lovable. And yes, some of his actions were very important plot devices.
Yeah.
But I think he did well doing that. But and then Lex Wilson, who plays Aaron, he actually responded from out here in the Raleigh area. My sister's a fantasy writer, novelist. He knew her through, he's a writer too. And somehow she recommended him, and we saw his audition, and I was like, this is the best one we've had.
Did she recommend him, or did he come up and then you asked your sister, do you know this guy?
Oh, that's right.
Oh, it was like from two different men.
But anyway, so when we all met basically for the first time in Canada, and we had about 24 hours to hang out before we started shooting. And I think honestly, I think the casting choices just were right, because we got along really, really well. And before long, I fully believe these guys are my filmmaking compadres, and we started just kind of joking around with each other and being sarcastic with each other. And so some of that stuff, definitely some of that ad-libbing definitely got into the film. But if you were to, read the script and follow along, it's pretty darn close. We really didn't divert too much.
Yeah. That's good. Outlines really seemed the best way to go. And I couldn't tell with your film, which is great. Normally when people are trying to read lines and act like, it's reality, oh man, you could smell it a mile away. Yeah. And I think you guys, you killed it. Also with Kevin, the character Kevin, you really did manage to cast a dude who was like the most likable kleptomaniac ever.
It really is.
Because I don't know any other. I've seen a lot of horror movies and a lot of independent ones. I don't know if anybody's ever really stolen the Necronomicon before. As like a narrative device. Where did that idea come from?
The idea of stealing the book. I don't remember exactly how it came up, but we had batted around. It went through a number of revisions, but we wrote the script relatively quickly. I mean, it was all written. I think the first draft was probably less than a month. And then we rewrote it for maybe another 3 weeks to a month. And, and then there were revisions along the way, like little changes. But the idea of stealing, I think it was a way we needed. We needed a way for them to not just get into trouble, but to intentionally get into trouble. Like we wanted them to earn the danger that was coming their way.
Well, in every horror movie, you kind of have to have at least one complete idiot.
Yeah, that's right. That's what you kept saying. Yeah, we need to have one.
I mean, it's tropey, and there's ways to write around that, but it just seemed fitting. We kind of wanted to show some of the these are sort of disrespectful Americans in some way. Like they don't fully appreciate, where they are and what they're doing. And, especially Kevin being so like, hey, everything's chill. Like, we'll just do whatever we want, man. Like, there's no consequences, that kind of personality, kind of would help get them some of the devices that they needed to get into further trouble.
Okay, so when me and Clark watch movies, and especially when we're looking at people we want to talk to, like filmmakers on the show, we normally end up watching them with a group. And, it's kind of like a privileged thing where we can watch weird Amazon movies and kind of dissect it with 5 know-it-alls in the room. And one of the things that you can... it doesn't seem to matter what kind of story you're telling. We have a friend who always will be like, if a camera moves into a cabin and there's a shotgun over the fireplace, he'll be like, "Oh, Chekhov's shotgun." And
Right.
like, shut up. And I remember, like, one of our friends made a short film, and he was like, Chekhov's clothesline, and they did kill somebody with it.
With the clothes, yeah.
Yeah, they did. So he was right. The thing is,
By the way, he's talking about me.
no, that's not you.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, but you're not that accurate.
Incorrect.
Okay.
Incorrect.
No, but here's the thing. I don't think anybody could tell that the kleptomania was going to play a major plot point, and especially the way it did. It felt so audacious. I don't know. It was good. I mean, I rarely do I feel caught off guard by storytelling like that.
I mean, I may have said Chekhov's leg brace, so I'll give you that. I may have been 0 for 1 on that.
There you go.
Yeah, we were 0 for 1. Also, Llana, I can't let you casually drop that your sister writes fantasy novels.
Yeah, she's a writer. She's published. You can buy her books on Amazon and stuff. Her last novel is called Queen of None. It's an Arthurian fiction, and it's actually really cool because Green Knight just came out.
Yep.
And I was reading. Haven't finished her book because I'm like the worst sister in the world. And she's listening to this. I love you. Don't hate me. Because I haven't finished it. But there's I don't know. Have you guys seen The Green Knight?
Loved it.
Oh yeah.
So, I just love that it's instead of this romantic take on medieval times, which you always tend to get, this very Hollywood produced version, colorful, beautiful. This was it felt gritty. It made me uncomfortable at times. I was like, everybody's dirty. Their teeth are nasty. This feels great. And Merlin, the way Merlin was depicted, he's a scary dude with tattoos on his face.
Oh,
he does not look like Gandalf or your typical blue pointy hat Merlin. And what's interesting is I think it's the foreword in my sister's book, whatever. It's the first 2 pages where the main character, it's one of Arthur's actual sisters in the legend. He had a number of sisters. Morgana is the mother of the main character in Green Knight. She's the witch,
Gwen.
right?
Yeah.
And so in Arthurian legend, his sisters often had magical powers, and so she decided to write a book about one that hasn't been talked about. Her name is Anna Pendragon. And that book is called Queen of None. But it starts out with this Anna Pendragon being born, and as a baby, she recollects being born, and the first person she sees is Merlin, and she talks about how horrifying he looked. I don't know how often remembers that. But I was like, dude, Green Knight just did your scene in your book, and I'm like, I need to get the rights to make this a series or something, and she's got a sequel coming. But yeah, her name is Natanya Barron. I don't know if I'm. And that's a weird name too. Nataniabarro.
Oh, we already got it. Oksana pulled it up already. I'm going to get it.
That is a great fantasy writer name, by the way. Very good.
Cool. My parents wanted original names.
Well, they killed it. And so I am I'm a very outspoken fan of fantasy films, and Clark is very outspoken about hating them. So,
Okay.
all right, Clark, we both got to read this book now.
All right.
We are recording the video so I can blackmail you with this later. I'm totally going to do it. I've been plowing through books, and
Awesome.
so you watched The Green Knight?
Okay. For the record, yes, he's been plowing through books, but these books are generally short stories concerning clowns with poisonous needles and candy bags.
Ooh.
He told me, I don't know. You told something about a clown rodeo man or something.
Did you read this book? Oh, it's be backwards.
Oh, there we go.
Is that the prop from the film?
That is the
This
screen.
is. This is. And the reason I have it is because I made this shit, yo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What's in it?
With the help of Mehran, who is also, in his other life, a graphic designer and is very, very good at it.
It was a
So
collaboration.
he designed, this is probably going to show backwards, but we basically like took pages out of an old book and like printed the actual shit we wanted. The actual book itself, this is called The Russo-Japanese War. And I got it at like a super creepy old bookstore. And we, using gold ink and stamps, like we did all this, but this was already on the design of the book. So the book looked creepy when I found it, and I was like, this is going to be the one. I mean, when you're low budget, you got to make your own stuff.
It works. It looks great.
No, for sure. And, so often, like, the evil book in these films are so, like, overdone. I think, anything for Jackson had like a really good Necronomicon, but it was kind of like the far end. Like if you're on the conservative end of this pendulum swing, that movie's on the other. And otherwise, they're all kind of boring. It all looks like faux human skin. I don't know. I liked it. Yeah. Now I got a question for a director here.
Mehran.
What's up?
You were scared to say Mehran, weren't you?
I honestly wasn't thinking about it.
Oh.
I was scared before we did it.
It's Chekhov's Mehran. How about that?
I can say Mehran. So I was trying to get Clark to commit to Mehran because he's a Mark Mehran enthusiast.
I get that a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I would feel embarrassed. So Mehran.
Yeah.
Now, was it always at any point when you were writing the script? Now, did you write it? You guys co-wrote it?
Yeah, co-wrote.
We co-wrote.
Okay. At any point, were you going to be in front of the camera?
Actually, there was a very brief point that I was going to be in front of a camera. And I think when we went up and did the... actually, now I can't remember if when we went up and did the scouting trip, if we already had people cast. Llana, do you recall that?
No, we were reviewing the submissions while we were there. So.
Right. So I think the plan was it was going to be me, Llana, and Kevin actually in the movie because we were trying to do it... Like, we did the movie low budget. We were trying to do it like bottom of the barrel low budget. Like, can we make a movie for like almost literally nothing? And so it was going to be the three of us. And I think the original one when we were writing the script was literally I would have been behind the camera even more than Lex Wilson was behind the camera. I don't think it was ever going to hand it to anybody else. In fact, a lot of that changed because of your broken leg, your broken knee, because originally you were Llana, the Llana character was supposed to drive the car a lot because in real life, Llana likes to drive because she gets motion sick or whatever, so she's always in the driver's seat. So we did that. So it would have been actually her on camera more. And so that was part of what we were trying to write in, and then we ended up having to change that, which is great because we got to see Aaron on camera more. But I think the first one to drop off was Kevin was like, I don't feel comfortable being on camera at all.
Kevin's like, I'm not an actor, guys. I produce. I don't do this. I was like, come on, anyone can be an actor. You just gotta try.
And I wanted it to feel stilted and whatever, but then it just became something where I'm not an actor. I mean, I've done tiny little parts. I do have a cameo in the movie, which you guys probably have saw in the grocery store, Mr. Canada with the Canada fanny pack.
Awesome.
That's me.
Wait, if you watch it again, if you ever feel the need to watch it again,
yes.
Kevin, when he steals the beer at the very beginning, when he closes the door and walks away, there's just this dude standing and looking at the camera, and that is Mehran. And we bought him this ridiculous fanny pack that has this big Canada logo with the maple leaf.
With the maple leaf.
Because everyone in Canada, of course, is going to wear a Canada maple leaf fanny pack.
I thought it was funny. My little Hitchcock moment. So yeah, but I really wanted to be able to like really direct the movie also, so that was part of it. And it's so much, especially I did operate the camera sometimes. Like sometimes when you think it's Aaron behind the camera, it's actually me. Not very much, maybe 10% of the time or something. I specifically in the scene when they're playing dead in the street or when they're laying in the street and just smoking, I'm behind the camera for more than half of that scene. Just there's like a handoff that happens. And there's a couple of things like that. So it really opened me up. Not acting opened me up to be more in control of what's happening and what we're framing. Because there's a lot of really careful framing in the movie. on purpose to sometimes make you think there's going to be something in the background, and other times to give me room to place something in the background. And so, you know, my chops for acting and directing are not going to, something's going to suffer. And also putting a talented actor, and I was so happy that we got Lex to play that. I like the fact to be able to expand that and make it that much more believable.
Hey man, it's a testament to the filmmaking. I couldn't tell there was another person back there. And I remember this one review on a Found Footage Critic, where they were covering Ty West's film, The Sacrament.
I haven't seen that.
Okay, so it's a kind of a retelling of Jim Jones. And
okay.
It's like if Vice had sent a reporter out there and they were filming it.
Exactly.
Now, the one critique that stood out to me where I'm like, wow, like we watch a lot of found footage, but this just felt like too far. They mentioned that the filmmaker, which who was shooting that movie? It was the Mumblecore guys, Clark. I can't think of their names right now.
The Duplass?
No, it wasn't Duplass.
Joe Swanson and
It wasn't Joe Swanson.
Swanberg.
Yeah, Swanberg.
Wait, he was in that movie?
Yeah, Swanberg was in that.
Oh, what? Wait, he was in it, or he directed it?
He was in it.
He acts in it, yeah.
Oh, he acts in it. Okay.
He acts in it.
Ty West directed it, and Swanberg's one of the characters who plays the cameraman.
Oh.
And so at one point when things get a little chaotic, he hands off the camera to a person living in Guyana, and they rip the movie apart for the film quality not dropping. They're like, he picked a random cinematographer apparently because the quality and the framing never changed. And I just remember thinking, that's a bridge too far. Like, what the hell are we talking about? Like, do we really want the film to become harder to interpret because, you know, a civilian has it now? But
that's a Dogma 95 shit.
Yeah, for sure. But I suddenly found myself becoming aware of the camera language in a different way when the camera got handed off. And I never could tell that you were back there. And honestly, I always imagined it would be so much harder to direct a found footage film without being in it.
Maybe. I mean, I didn't find it hard. We pretty much treated most of the filming as, I don't remember how many scenes in total were in the film, but it was basically like each one was a small play. And we had our setup, and we just treated it that way. And the three actors that were in most of the movies, which was Llana, Lex, and Jordan, they ran these things front to back. And the hardest one was the big climactic sequence before the one where the tarot card reader actually comes to the house, where Blanche comes to the house. And we actually ran that. That was the longest scene in the film. I think it's about 9 or 10 pages. And I really wanted it to run continuous. So we had people outside, we had people at the ready, we had our other producers on walkie-talkies outside, so that we could have everything happen as one continuous
Yeah,
day.
that was like where I think it kind of starts with like they get upstairs from after doing the seance, and then the radio does shit, and then all the cabinets fly open,
the earthquake scene
across the room, and so that was all 100% practical, and we had about 6 people standing all around the house with different triggers, I guess. Some of them had a fishing line that they would have to pull. Someone else had to slam a door. We actually had these little spring things that our practical effects guy created and actually inserted into the cabinet so that on a button crash they would fly open. They were actually spring rigged. And then we had a glass that was tied to a fishing line that had to fly across the room, hit the refrigerator, fall on the floor. All these things had to happen at once, and we had to run it continuously because at the time we didn't actually think that we would cut and use glitches to kind of help with maybe if we didn't have the right footage that we needed. Later we ended up doing that. So we were never intending on cutting. So this was going to just be continuous like a theatrical production, and every effect had to be on at the exact right time. Everyone had to have their mark. And so there was a lot of pressure on that, but we only had 4 chances to do it because we could only afford 4 breakaway wine glasses because they're very fucking expensive. And we had spent our budget on a lot of stuff not thinking that they would cost that much, and then it was like, oh man, because they make them and get sent to Canada, and that's really pricey. So we had 4 chances to do it. We actually did it in 3, and we got to take that final glass, and we did like very much like a Jewish wedding, and we put it in a cloth, and we stepped on it at the end. We were like, yeah, we deserve to break this one ourselves. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of practical stuff going on, and again, it was very much like doing a play, and we couldn't really get our lines wrong, and that's where some of the ad-libbing, I think, was very helpful. It's like we would keep the scene going no matter what. Like, we would just, if something happened, we'll just make that be a part of it. And with found footage, you have a little more flexibility with those things, because sometimes an error or something that like, oops, is actually more, it feels more genuine in found footage. You have
but that's not to say we always just ran with whatever it was there and just let it go. I mean, there are a couple of scenes in which we did 18, 19 takes of a particular scene to make sure that everything was firing on all cylinders, and that the acting was there and that the framing was there. Because a lot of times, like I said, most of the time I'm not operating the camera. In the earthquake scene, the camera is actually handed to me, and what's so crazy is there's like the sofa has like a chase lounge with a cushion on it. So the way we actually accomplish the feeling of the camera motion, like that's not done in post at all. We took the cushions off the couch. There was one main cushion on the couch. The camera's handed to me as loosely as possible to make it look like she just drops it on the couch. And then when the earthquake starts happening, I'm on my knees behind the camera. I framed it up a certain way, like we had little marks on the couch, and then I'm literally like hitting the cushion on both sides of the couch. And what it's causing is this very organic, because when I tried to shake it by hand, it didn't feel right. So when we just started hitting that, it created this turbulence in the cushion, which caused it to look very natural, and then it would settle. And then we actually had cushions on the floor so I could knock the camera over when we wanted it to spin off. It worked really well.
No, it did. That's incredible. It's funny. We shot a dumb promo for our film fest like 4 years ago, and we wanted a camera to drop, and just that whole like, what do we do besides just drop the camera?
Right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's such a weird position to be in, especially when you are trying to like capture like verisimilitude.
Second time, put another $1 in the jar.
I'm sorry. It's such a good word for it, for like, chasing reality. I have to commend you too. You really packed this film with like fun stuff for the audience. Like we have an earthquake. We have Easter egg like laid all throughout the movie. I love that like visual candy that you did. But also we have like a cult. We have like a Necronomicon type book. Dude, you loaded this thing up. At any point, was it daunting? Were you like, how?
It felt natural to me. It felt like we were just like, I think the way that we approach it, I remember telling Llana, think of a few scary things, and I'll think of a few scary things, and let's see how we could weave them. And she came up with some great stories, like from her life, and I did the same, and, we just sort of made them more, right?
Yeah, well, also, the way that you just adapted to, like, that house, I love how those closets connected together.
Yeah.
That is, like, truly, like, creepy.
Yeah, when I was a kid growing up, when my mom would take us to go visit our Canadian relatives up there, like that was always our entertainment. My sister and I, we were like, it's Narnia and bye, see you in 5 hours or never again, like
never again.
And those closets, I don't know why, it's just like the way the house was kind of built, I guess it had all this additional space in the walls, and so they made it closets, and they all do kind of connect to each other in this like weird labyrinth. And so whenever I've taken friends up there over the years, I'm always like, that tour that my character gives of the whole house is really the tour that I give to everybody that I take up there. So when we wrote the script, I knew exactly, I'm like, oh, I say this and I say this, because that's what I always say when I take people on the tour. But that closet is kind of like the favorite part. And it's a small house, but then it's just amazing how big the closets are. We didn't show you, there's the other side, there's actually more closets. They don't connect to that one, so there didn't seem to be an easy way to get that in the film. But
does the house seem large to you guys or small? Like, what is it like as somebody totally uninitiated?
Go ahead, Clark.
Felt large to me.
Huh.
I thought it felt
I'm 5'4", so
yeah, it is small. Yeah,
it's a very small house, like very small house. Yeah.
I should note, too, for anybody who's seen the film out there who is interested in this kind of fun behind-the-scenes stuff, in that scene when I do the closet tour and Kevin takes this Bible, he thinks it's a Bible, and he opens it up and there's hair in it. And I'm like, dude, that's my great grandmother's hair. Like they kept it when she died and whatever. That is my actual great grandmother's hair that they kept when she died. I don't know why.
In the Bible?
Yeah,
It's
she
like
used to like dye it black, and she had very, very long hair. And when she died, I guess it's some Catholic like wakes or whatever. Like they'll give you these empty box Bibles to keep the candles that were burned and maybe like a little.
Wait, it wasn't an actual Bible. It was like a hollow book.
It's a
right?
box, yeah. It looks like a Bible, but you open it up and it's a box. You know.
Oh, okay. So not the Holy Word. All right, good.
Yes.
No, it's not actually, but inside that would be your keepsakes from the wake or the funeral. So it would have, just like I say in the film, like these are the candles they burned at her thing, and this is the scripture that they read or whatever, and then this is a bag of her actual hair. And that was actually not in the original script, and we got
a lot of that stuff was on the fly.
We decided to just do it because it was creepy, and why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, are they lying, Clark? He grew up in a mortuary, so if y'all are telling tales, he should be able to spot it.
Sounds accurate to me.
Okay.
I don't know. But also, like, there's a special brand of like French Canadian Catholicism, and I feel like it's kind of older and more traditional. And, a lot of those keepsakes and icons and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
It's funny. Now, I totally believe you that it's real. Yet, out of everything, out of your whole, personally, your journey through that movie, everything read true except for that. That felt like it was like a prop. Like, okay, I get it. That's an interesting idea.
Oh my God. All right, dude. The next time I go up there, I'm going to take a little piece of that hair and I'm going to put it in an envelope and I'm going to send it to you.
Oh, I'll frame it.
Honestly, not the first time we've gotten hair in the mail.
Well, here's the thing. Some people were a little offended. Didn't you have some issue with like some of your family? How could you use this stuff?
No, I mean, there were some like very distant family members that I don't even really know that reached out on Facebook, and they were like, they sent me like in French because they didn't actually speak English. They were a little offended that because some of the photographs in the house are actually photographs of distant family members of mine. And I guess they were just a little bit like, why didn't anyone talk to all of us? And I was like, well, my mom, she actually is the one now that owns that house. And those are all her items. And she gave us full permission to use everything. And I mean, to my family out there, who, the ones that don't even understand what I'm saying right now, I love you. And we were as respectful with the house as we possibly
We really were.
And even after we did that scene with my grandmother, I remember like I put it back very nicely and I put my hand on it and I was like, thank you, great grandmother. I really appreciate this. And, tried to be as respectful as possible. So.
And then you went to the basement and did a seance. And
there's a rusty old rosary that's hanging in the basement. And when I take them down for the basement tour, that's like one of the first things I show them. And then Kevin's like, what's a rosary? And I explain that to him. That rosary is always hanging there and has been my whole life. And no one in the family really knows why my great-grandmother put the rosary right on that beam as you walk down. So I'm like, there's only one reason someone will put a fucking rosary, at the entrance to the basement. It's because there's some shit down there that she knows is there and she does not want to deal with it. So this is her protection.
Not all of that thing is.
A lot of just real creepy stuff, and that's why we wanted to shoot there. We were like, look, we need to get a project. We need to get something out. Our goal was to shoot a film, or write a film, shoot a film, and get it distributed within a year, and we did it. And we knew we could use that house for a really great price, and I knew it was creepy. So I was like, let's just write to the creepiness of the location and the house, and let's just create a story.
Well, I feel like even that made it in the movie because back in the early aughts when people would try and pick apart every found footage film, one of the things would be, why are they filming? And I love the idea that you guys had where it's like, well, we're trying to figure out what movie we want to make. And then, a haunting kind of happens and you're like, well, why don't we use this? I thought that was a great premise.
Thank you. I think that's fun as well. Like that's the part that I like when I watch it again. It's always like, oh yeah, it really does kind of take that twist where they're like, no, now this is what we're doing now. This is it.
Well, it also feels like the acceptance of like folly too, where it's like clearly these are warnings and we should get out of here.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, but wait, this could be a really easy way to make a film.
Mhm.
And I don't. It feels like at that point in the film, we've crossed a line into okay, this is going to turn into a snuff film now, and you're all going to die.
Right.
And rightfully so.
Right.
Mehran, I wanted to go back on something you briefly mentioned, Passon. We were talking about your cameo appearance in the film with your lovely Canadian fanny pack, and you just said that that's sort of your Hitchcock moment. But that's not the only Hitchcock that we've got in this movie. Is because Russell and I pointed out that there are several sequences where we are hearing French Canadians speak, and there's not any subtitles there. And Russell brought up that that's a very Hitchcockian thing. So, was that something that was planned, or did that just happen organically?
Absolutely planned. No, absolutely planned. Like when we were writing the script, we actually considered at one point, showing the subtitles. What they're saying, like we actually did write. I think we wrote it in English first, and then we translated it. I think that's what it was for what they were going to say.
We wrote their dialogue in English, and then we had it translated.
But I definitely, both of us were like, we want to put people in the situation where the viewers are actually, their experience what the characters are. And the best way to do that is to make you feel like a foreigner, but like, well, you don't understand what it is. And if you happen to speak French, well, then you do have an insight into what's happening. But that doesn't mean we're going to help everyone out. And we thought that was a really great way. And that actually ended up being a little bit of a difficulty because we originally released in French-speaking territory. And when we considered doing the subtitles, we're like, okay, so if they subtitle it all into French, do they then not show it there? Or do they then put that in English in the subtitle? Yeah. Confusing. And so it was the one language where it's a little bit difficult to think about how to do the subtitle.
So what did you end up going with? Did you end up subtitling it?
It is subtitled. I don't even know right now because I've never. I have the subtitles, but I've never watched the subtitled in French version, so I'm not sure. I think Cinemas Guzzo did put the language in for even when they're speaking French, but I don't know.
Yeah, because
we were considering a dubbed version at some point, but
yeah, when we were watching it, we were talking about, or I think on the podcast when we were talking about it, I was wondering if you went into Amazon and put on closed caption, if it would be in there or not.
It's a good question. It shouldn't be.
If you watch our film,
English one,
if you watch it with English subtitle or closed captions, it just says speaking French.
Right, that's right.
Okay.
The illusion is still there. We chose to do that. Yeah. Because we don't want anyone to understand. And if you do understand, then you're just one of the lucky French speakers who gets to know a little bit more. You would know much earlier who's going to be the bad guy, and kind of can understand a little bit of what's happening behind the scenes when you can understand.
Yeah. What they're saying, I think, is not like major super duper spoilers, but still, it's more of an insight if you have that.
No, it is really cool because Oksana can speak Russian, so whenever that pops up in a movie, me and Clark always just look at her and we're like, "What the hell they say?" And then half the time she actually doesn't know.
Yeah.
You want to defend yourself? No.
No.
Okay.
we had just a little bit of criticism about the French speaking in Quebec, or where our theatrical release happened last summer, and some of the biggest comments that we got, or most common, were from French Canadians saying that they could tell that some of the French speaking actors were not from that specific region in Quebec, because that rural farm area, kind of like, if you go down south to the farmlands, they're talking like this, and then you go up to Boston, everybody has like regional dialects, and these people were like, well, they're not really from the country, I could tell. Or Agathe Salzman, who plays Chantal, the one that is kind of the friend that my character knows, who's local. She's actually from France, but she's been living in Montreal for years, and she goes to school there. But she was highly criticized in the reviews from the French Canadians, because they were like, how dare they put a Parisian French woman in a French Canadian role? But that also speaks more to like the rivalry that like Quebec and France have always kind of had.
Yeah.
so we found that funny, and we were like, well, it's kind of nice to know that when this gets released in an English-speaking territory, no one's going to know whether
Right.
they're from France or from Quebec or.
My ear can't really tell the difference when they're speaking French for the most part, but I was trying to think of how silly it was. They were so angry. And then it's like, well, imagine if you just put a British person in the middle of a movie about Texas and pass them off as somebody.
Or as a Texan.
I mean,
Right.
I guess that is what they're hearing, and I just can't hear it.
Well, on the other side of that, as speaking as a person who has an accent and coming from an area that is very heavily accented, that is definitely something that like Mississippians and Southerners would catch on to. That is a constant theme that they talk about. Like the movie Driving Miss Daisy always comes into mind because that is a movie that is universally loved. However, Dan Aykroyd, a Canadian, a very fast-talking Canadian, is playing the son of is playing a Georgian. Like, we sussed that out real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell the accent different. I was furious. I was enraged. But I mean, in America, we do it with fantasy films. It's like any fantasy movie. It's like just give them some sort of European accent.
Some sort, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to say something ancient Rome, they're all British for some reason. I don't know why.
It was like in Green Knight, they all said Gawain differently.
Yeah.
Like Arthur said Garwin, and someone else was like Gowan, and it's just like, wait a minute, you couldn't get all the actors to at least agree on
I think that was a choice. No, I think they did that on purpose. And I think it had something to do. I was reading something, and it was something to do with the fact that it's spelled different in different alliterations or something. So they wanted people. You can't make that.
I think that probably went over the head then of most people watching it, and most people were just like, why can't you just say the name one way?
I think the whole movie went over most people's heads. But
Unfortunately, yeah.
But Mehran didn't. He wasn't like as big of a fan as I was.
No, I mean, I loved it, and then I was like, I think I understand what it's about. I'm like, but I'm not sure, so I'm going to read about it. And then I read about it. I'm like, okay, that's what I thought it was, but I'm not sure that I care that much.
I think, my sister says, it's because Arthurian legend is so diverse. Like, there's so many different tales, and no one knows none of it's actually real, but there's just been so many different interpretations that I think that's the point, is it's interpretive. I think that you're supposed to kind of take what you want to take out of it.
I mean, I thought it was beautifully realized and well acted, and the art direction and everything. I liked all that. I was just a little bit indulgent. I mean, there's like that, I think it's a 35-minute scene of him riding a horse towards the camera. I think it was just like there was this section in the middle of the movie where we're just watching him walk forever. Like,
but see, that's a very David Lowery thing, because did you see A Ghost Story?
I have not seen A Ghost Story.
Okay, well, there's a scene in A Ghost Story where our main protagonist is eating a cake unedited for about 7 to 8 minutes.
Yeah, it seems a little indulgent to me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All of his work is. Also, I just want to point out that Clark didn't even realize this was an Arthurian movie until after when I told him.
Okay, incorrect.
No, you had no idea.
Incorrect.
Yeah.
No. I just wasn't sure if what's-his-name was King Arthur. And then I was like, he looks... The only King Arthur I know is in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That's the only King Arthur shit I care about.
Right? Wasn't Sean Connery King Arthur?
Yeah, he was in First Night, I think, wasn't he?
I don't watch that.
Okay.
Oh.
The only King Arthur he knows is a pizza franchise. Be real. You can laugh. It's fine.
But so I did want to get on this. How long have you guys been collaborators?
10 years? 13 years? No, I don't think it's 13, is it?
I like
Maybe.
saying 13 because it's a good evil number. Let's just say 13.
Okay.
It's been a long time. Mehran, he kind of came to me. I was trying to pursue a career in music as a singer-songwriter, and we both ended up working together at a video game company, interestingly enough. And he was like, I'm trying to develop my portfolio. Do you want to... First, he asked me to be in his first little horror short, actually.
Yes. Which is kind of hard to find online somewhere now, but yeah.
Yeah. And I was actually not going to be around. And so I said, well, let's do something some other time. And he ended up doing some music videos, which were really fun. My music career did not, do anything. But then I was like, I majored in theater, musical theater. So it's like music or theater. It was like one or the other. And I was living out in Southern California. And so I think like filmmaking just kind of with you sort of became a thing. We started writing, and we did Committed, which is a short.
Yes, you guys should watch Committed, like right now.
Free on
Let's do it.
YouTube.
Yeah. It is on YouTube right now, yeah.
Yeah, we did pretty well in the film festival circuit with that one.
Yeah.
It's a psychological thriller about a mental hospital in the 1950s. And it has a, kind of an M. Night twist. I'm not going to try to say that we're like M. Night.
You shouldn't even say that to people.
Yeah.
Now you're looking for it. Like, never say that to anyone.
Oh, come on.
Hey, for the record, I saw Old twice in the theater.
And I still haven't seen it.
I heard it's horrendous. How was it?
Oh, it's something special, Mehran.
Oh, I see.
Something special.
It's so bad it's good. I think that's what he means.
I'll let the jury sit out on that one, but it's entertaining.
Is it Tommy Wiseau's Old?
It wishes it was Tommy Wiseau's.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I think Mehran on more. I love you just taking shots at these films. Also, Old, dude, the story is really cool. The script is garbage.
Okay.
You're not wrong.
I haven't seen it, so I'm taking a shot from the
I listened to your review of it on the episode where you guys talked about Curse of Aurore, and I was like, I think they gave Curse of Aurore a better review than Old. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think that's what just happened.
Yeah.
So Clark saw Old because he was trapped in Arizona and could only go to a dead mall to do something. I've watched Curse of Aurore 3 times now.
Really?
So, yeah, I've seen it 3 times. And if I would have had more time last night, I would have rented it again.
Wow.
But no, I think your film, as somebody, we host events and we show movies, and your film has the appeal of, if you got somebody who's being like, just like a punk and trying to like poo-poo the night and had negative energy, your film.
Poo-poo the night.
I don't know. My choice of words.
Yeah.
Great song. Poo-poo the night.
No, but like, you get people who walk in with a little rain cloud over their head, and you could throw on Curse of Aurore, and it would shut it down. It's just a fun film to watch.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot to pick apart here, so it's just a good, solid found footage movie.
And also that as someone, we run a found footage festival. We watch a plethora of found footage movies, and easy to watch found footage movies aren't always necessarily, easy to find, and there's not a ton of them. It can be a rather challenging subgenre. So the fact that you can pop something on and then catch the attention of everybody in the room, like that's something special.
I leave a lot of give a lot of credit to the fact that the chemistry of the 3 actors and what they did was so great. And also, just to let you know, there's a lot of pain. Like, Llana and I basically birthed these movies. A lot of time it starts with the core of the 2 of us, and there's tons of arguing and tears and anger but I think
the tears are him personally.
Mostly me. But and we have these great collaborators. I mean, Kevin Pardo and Minna Brighton are always like so supportive and so willing to get everything going. But like that watchability factor, like we really want. Like I know specifically, Llana and I watch these movies a lot. Like our movies, like to try to make sure is it following the fiction we want? Is it?
Yeah, he does all the post-production editing, video editing, and special effects, and I do all the sound design. So we both end up watching the film 10,000 times to do our work, and it is interesting that like this one of the stuff that we've done, it doesn't make me cringe after the 100th time. Like I'm still having fun. I still feel like I'm there. We're having a great time. And
for me, it feels kind of like what's interesting is the fact that the characters are sort of meta-biographical as opposed to straight autobiographical. Yeah. It does, and because of the fact that we did the scouting trip ahead of time, we hung out there. When I watch it now, I do kind of put myself. I sort of see myself through Aaron in a lot of ways. Like as I wrote, a lot of the lines are things that I would say if I was with Llana and she's trying to do something crazy. I'd be like, "No, we got to get the fuck out of here right now." Sorry if I could swear, but then when I watch it now, it kind of just feels like a memory footage. And I've said on a number of interviews before, I don't think of this as found footage as much as I think of it as a vacation footage film. Like, because the whole idea was to make it feel like some of the things I did back when I was straight on video cassette, where you would be editing in camera, you just start the camera rolling, stop it rolling. You stop at a roadside stand, you're getting lunch, you turn it on, you take a picture of your meal and the people around you, you stop it. It's not edited. It's completely linear. The story is happening as it unfolded and as those characters chose to capture those moments. And I think that's part of the believability of the whole thing.
Now, did you start the project thinking found footage?
Not entirely. I mean,
actually, I think it was your idea, Mehran, at some point. I think because we were
it's like the best way to tell the story.
Yeah, we were trying to. So the story of Aurore Gagnon is a true sad tragedy, and it did take place in Porterville, which is next to the town where my family's cottage is. And I had been up there looking for inspiration to what are we going to write about? What's a cool story that's like creepy that we could do something, and found that story. And Mehran was like, yeah, I mean, I get that it's a brutal, tragic tale, but what's our story? We're not going to do like a, biopic on that. Like, we're going to do something, what would our story be? And he actually came up with, because it took so long for us to try to break a story. And so finally he was like, what if we just wrote this about us writing this fucking story,
Yeah.
And then we can do it found footage and save a ton of money. And so, yeah, we were not originally like, yeah, let's do found footage horror, but we wanted to do something, again, as fast as we could with as little money as possible and still make it good with this great location and a great cast. But it didn't necessarily start that way. And I think that once we decided to like really just make it about sort of ourselves and the conversations that we've had and, whatever, our journey, I think that's when it all kind of like, I don't know, fell together and just
it started to kind of write itself. Once we started doing that, we're able to flow on things. But like, again, we had mentioned Committed a while ago. Like, if you look at Committed, like both Llana and I want to do something that looks beautiful, that sounds beautiful, that is touching and emotionally impactful. And if you watch something like Committed, you'll see more the kind of work that we want to do. But it's very difficult to do that on a larger scale, and it's very difficult to do it in terms of like the star power we had. Now, Llana is great on camera and everything, and she's, as we're doing more work, I think people are recognizing that. But I'm not,
but
you're not a marquee name,
Right. So it's when you don't have star power, I think found footage is a really good choice, because people I've been reading, I'm on a bunch of found footage groups on Facebook. I'm reading what they say, and a lot of them, they actually feel like, they feel ripped off if there's a recognizable actor or actress in the film. If it's found footage, it's like, I don't want to recognize them because it feels more real when I don't know who they are.
Take you out of the film.
Yeah.
And I do think that, especially for this story, it's. I mean, some people have said they're totally spooked by this movie, and other people are like, oh my God, that wasn't scary at all. But in general, I actually think the found footage format worked much better for this story, because it kind of felt like, hey, this is happening right there. Like, this is actually happening to real people. They're having real mundane conversations about things, and they're doing it through their eyes, not a director's eyes, even though obviously I was very involved in how that was shot. But when you watch it, it's really voyeuristic. In fact, more than voyeuristic, it feels like you are one of them in a lot of ways. So the camera kind of jumps between people. You could be any one of them hanging out. You're on the couch next to them smoking a joint or something, right? Like, that's the feeling that I wanted to get.
We had, just a quick little background, we had spent actually 4 years working on a comedy indie film that is coming out soon. I actually don't know exactly when, but the process of that took so long, and that actually does have stars in it, and it should be a bigger thing. But we're kind of coming off of the sort of like restraints of working with another studio that was funding everything, and we felt like coming out of that, like we just needed to just do something completely ourselves and not involve a bigger fish, and not feel like we're sacrificing some of our artistic integrity for what they want. We just wanted to do something totally different, and I think that's one of the reasons why we kind of just went this route. We're like, yeah, this is about us, and we're just a little bit burned out that we spent 4 years on a movie that hasn't been released yet, and we're going to talk about that in this film, and we do. And so, there's more meta, but there will be another film coming out with us at some point soon that's a comedy with people in it. I can't say anything about it. Because
I love those little tidbits of like reality, especially when there's like when they turn out to be cathartic. I don't know. Also, Mehran, good choice with the third act switch, like not just taking that Aurore story. Because if you normally in found footage, we get the like, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago with films like Phoenix Forgotten. You basically get like a faux documentary setup for a third act that is a found footage film. Where in you kind of, you know, now that I'm thinking back on it, that's probably why I didn't see a kleptomaniac stealing a Necronomicon. It's you really took the genre in a different direction. I don't know. I'm excited that y'all made this movie, and I'm curious if now that you're in a bunch of found footage Facebook groups, have you talked about doing anything else in the genre?
Yeah, I think I would say from my position, it's like it's almost like I guess you could say it's a golden handcuffs without the money right now, because like I know that's what people want to know. Llana and I have had a lot of conversations, but I really do want to make a beautiful cinematic film. But I didn't think there was much. Like this movie kind of ends. But Llana and I have been talking about stuff, you know, like for a sequel. We've been writing things, and like I think there is a bit more legs in the curse verse, as it were.
First verse.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now
we do have a sequel, like an outline right now for a sequel, and you guys might actually. I'm not going to say much, but the tentative idea is that it's actually about like streamers, like podcasters, like yourself, who have a show about paranormal shit, and one's like, hold on, one's a believer and one isn't, and that's their show. Right. Okay. So that's interesting to podcasters and to streamers and stuff like that, because I think that's something that you have a lot of right now. It's like everybody's trying to like make their mark in the streaming universe, and you know, so we kind of want to go that route. But
now be careful though.
For a sequel,
so here's the thing. Earlier you mentioned Hell House 3. And we talked to Stephen Cognetti twice on here, the director, writer of those. And we had him on when he originally had put out Hell House. And I remember that film grew out of a cult following on Amazon Prime. And I was talking to him and he was like, yeah, we're going to do another one. And he's just like Mehran. He was like, I don't really want to make another found footage movie, but people want me to.
Yeah.
And I remember telling him, like, dude, do what you got to do. Like, don't crowbar into the genre again. Like, normally I beg every guest we have on here to come into the genre because we always want more. I mean, we're film programmers, so it's like, please give us more. But if you watch Hell House 1, 2, and 3, you can tell. Like 2 and 3 is like an exposition dump where he's trying to fill up people with lore, and it's like, dude, these should not have been found footage movies. But 2's not. I mean, he's got like a raw talent to build a scare, so they're not like completely films that I would like disregard. But you can tell his heart was not in the format.
I think that's why we haven't actually cracked this totally yet, is because like it really like it has to be better. It can't be as good. It can't be like, it has to be better. And that doesn't mean bigger. That doesn't mean bigger budget. It means that the story has to actually connect. And we can't forget what is good about and what Curse of Aurore is really about, which is, for me, it's this story of these three people. It's the story of this woman who wants to succeed and will throw caution to the wind. And it's about another guy who his not at the end of his rope, but is frustrated that things haven't gone his way, and it's about this sort of trickster that hangs out with them, and the dynamic between them and getting to know them personally as opposed to just as characters. Like, that's the core of this. And so the question is finding the heart of that in another story that also continues the lore, right, and possibly expands.
Sounds like you got it, man. Like just from that, you clearly understand. I don't know.
We actually talked about the idea of maybe making a sequel that wasn't found footage, just as an idea. And when I started reading again all of the found footage groups, and that question has been posed a lot of times, like, what do you guys think? It was the Blair Witch sequel that isn't found footage.
Yeah, it's not found footage.
And people are like, no, we hate it because they should have stuck true to the found footage style. Ooh, I just whacked my foot.
Oh my gosh!
I'm going for another injury here.
I thought you were having a haunting. Watch the Blackwell Ghost. What you just did is half of the films.
Yeah.
Just banging on the walls.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. We'll just do more crash, bam, boom. Yeah.
Hey, they're terrifying. It's kind of, they're terrifying. And Clark's been watching them in a hotel room, so.
Yeah, I know. Amazon keeps recommending them to me, and I'm like, it knows that, you know, I read the found footage group stuff and everything. It must know, because it really wants me to watch all of these. The one that I did watch was The Last Exorcism, and I really enjoyed that one, actually.
Love it.
I thought that was really pretty good. I love the idea of this, like, pastor guy, you know, who's like a faux exorcist.
Here's an example, actually, of something we talked about earlier. The fact that I recognize that guy from Better Call Saul.
Yep, you beat me to it.
Took you out of it?
It took me out of it because I know that guy. Like, I know him, and he's very good. And I was like, okay, yeah. So it's not, there's like a scary veil that is removed because I recognize who he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to buy into that alternate reality. Also,
It's harder, yeah.
Another franchise where the sequel's not found footage.
Oh, is there a sequel to that?
Oh.
Yeah.
It's also unwatchable.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know, it starts off really strong, and then, it goes like a weird Carrie route. It's not good.
Okay. Oh.
I mean, I get why you don't go found footage, because it's so hard to explain that camera, and that is something that Llana and I argued, beat each other up over, about, like, how do we make this thing happen? How do we racked our brains so that it really does feel. I mean, I feel like we're pretty successful in justifying the camera almost all the time. Even the weird camera angles that we set the camera down, like there's like always story that sort of supports that.
Yeah, and don't get too caught up on that anymore. Like the stigma that the genre used to carry has shifted. So if you look at like the fear footage films, there's 3 of them. That man, our buddy, he made 3 films for like no money, and really what he's got is like a great premise, and like he's in the films, and like part 2 is it opens up with him like he's filming himself, and he's like, hey, I just found this movie, and the dude in it looks just like me, but I didn't make this movie, and it's just him with the fear footage 1. And it's like, dude, people will buy into that, and as long as you got ideas, like, don't worry about why you're filming. Like, it really, like, those days are gone. I mean, with The Last Exorcism, people were killing that movie for having background music.
Yeah.
And it's like the times have changed. Like, it's fine. Just as long as your heart's in it, people, they're going to follow you. But you have kind of stepped in a bear trap here. The found footage community is kind of scattered, but they're voracious and they want more.
Yeah.
And you're looking at 2 of them right here, and
We're assholes.
Yeah, I loved your film.
Thank you very much. That means a lot.
Now, Randy, are you still over there?
Is it? Well, I'm gonna ask, which is the one that hated it? Because I think there was one of you guys was like, I'm not even gonna say anything or something. I forget what it was. I was like, I need to ask that guy.
No, I don't think so.
I think they were just talking about the Casey stuff, weren't they? The Casey Nolan stuff?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I-
No, one of us. Hey, no way.
Yeah.
I thought there was one guy who was like, I don't know, who's like, I don't know, maybe I'm just.
I mean, look, I'll take the hit. I'll take the hit. I'm fine with that.
I don't know. Also, we have talked about this film like 3 times in the past 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I actually got shit about it yesterday. Like, oh, you keep talking about this movie. And I'm like, well, yeah, there's probably a reason. You should go watch it.
Wait, you talked about it on 3 different shows, or just personally? You talked about it?
No, on the show. It just kept coming up. I think in the one we just recorded and went up yesterday, I mentioned because Thomas had reached out and he was like, "Dude, you were right. The leg thing was that it wasn't scripted."
Oh yes,
So
you had to rub that in my face.
Yeah, I just had to rub it in his face, so I made a point to like bring it up in the beginning. Now, did Randy bail? I know he had to meet a friend.
No, I'm still here.
I
We
think
haven't stopped
maybe-
recording.
Okay, you're
so
still
I'm
there.
still here. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that, Randy. Do you have to go? Because
No, it's cool.
Yeah, when have we ever given a shit about Randy's time?
I'm trying to be better. And the other thing is, I still have a lot of questions. I want to ask them about like the light gag in the road.
I'll give you one question. We've gone an hour 15.
Okay. Well, how about like we kind of skipped over that, and to me that was one of those moments that really rang as like a true urban legend. And I did you all make that up on the spot, or is that like a real?
No, it's kind of a combination of something that Llana actually did, and then we expanded that. Do you guys, by the way, quick question, before because she didn't tell the story, it would be great. Did you guys notice the light flickering at the end of the scene?
Yeah.
Okay, because some people miss that altogether. So I'm just curious if like that, because that's like the little subtle payoff at the very, very end.
Now, here's the thing that we do differently. Like part of the reason why we run the Unnamed Footage Festival is because I know a lot of found footage films get made with no intention, or like they never even think about it screening in a theater. But the thing is, when you screen in the theater, you know, the image kind of becomes your world. So when we watch things here, we do it on a projector that we've dedicated a whole wall to.
That's awesome.
And the whole room, all the chairs are facing the wall, like we're in some weird Blair Witch cult. But the thing is, you know, it makes it a lot easier to catch that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the Easter eggs. So that's why I was making a point. I'm like, I got to commend you for that.
Thank you. You want to tell that?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm glad that you guys saw it, because it is very subtle, and it was intentional that we were like, we're going to make it flicker, but it's not going to be that one. It's going to be the one farther in the distance. So they were actually standing at the wrong light all along. And if you kind of pay attention to, I don't want to give too much away, but essentially every time that they notice weird stuff going on with the neighbors and like the townspeople, it's like always at the same time. It's always like 1 a.m. or 1:15 a.m. It's like we wanted to work with that time. And so we think that the light flickers at 1 a.m., but it actually flickers at 1:15. So we missed it, and we were at the wrong light altogether. So we have it happening in the very background, which is one of those little Easter eggs, which I just kind of gave away because I don't think a lot of people see it. But the actual like idea for that just scene was that I have, when I brought my friends up there, and the drinking age in Canada is 18. And so when I was 18, I lived in Massachusetts growing up. So I would bring my friends up. We were 18 and we'd party up at the house, and then we'd get wasted. And at like 1 a.m, you'd be like, guys, there's no cars, so let's lie in the middle of the road. And, you know, and we would. And like, we, you know, the thing is like, it's so flat and the roads are so long, and there's nothing obscuring the landscape. So you can see lights from like 3 miles away, and you can hear a car from like 3 miles away. Like seriously, that's how empty and vast it is up there. More so in the winter when there's no leaves on trees and you have like no insulation from sound. And so now I only did that with my friends in the summertime because we weren't idiots, but we decided if we're shooting this in the winter, it would make it creepier and just up the stakes a little bit. And then if a car were to slip on the ice while they're doing this shit, you know, and if that's all happening at the same time, it's almost as if this energy that's sort of following them, this evil that they've maybe stepped a little bit into, is causing this to happen. Or is it? You know, I think that's sort of the question, or we want people to kind of wonder, like, oh, did the car go by and almost hit them, like, because they're fucking shit up? Like, and then you see the light flicker right as the car passes, and it's almost like it's all happening together, like the ghosts or someone is saying, like, stop what you're doing, you know?
Yeah. And also allow me to get a shot that's kind of similar to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, where they're laying on the ice. So I got as close as I could within the restraints of doing it found footage.
And it just so happened that the night we scheduled to shoot that ended up being the coldest night while we were shooting. It was -9 degrees, and we were laying on icy road. And you know, and I had a cane that had spikes in it just for our outdoor scenes, so that I wouldn't die. And you know, I was using that; it was helping me get up and down. But we had to keep doing that scene over and over again. And it was so cold that between takes, we'd run into one of our vans and heat up for a few minutes, and then run back out and do it again, and you know, on ice. And so it was a challenge physically for all of us that night. Yeah.
Now, did anyone actually come close to being hit when you were doing it, 18 and drunk?
No. Again, because you know from like, so it's like when you can hear a train off in the distance, like you're like, that's when I'm not going to be on the tracks. I can hear the horn. It's like you hear it from so far away. And again, the lights, like you can actually even see the lights coming from so far away. You have plenty of time to get up and get out of there, but if someone were to nod off, they got a little too drunk or a little too stoned and they're just passed out on the road and you have to wake them up. And why didn't Kevin wake right up? Was that something to do with this sort of paranormal energy that was around them, or was it because he smoked too much weed? It's all sort of, I think, open for interpretation.
Yep. Yeah, you also had streetlights there. So where we live, I used to live like down the street from. Do you know the movie Bullitt?
The Steve McQueen movie?
Yeah,
Steve
McQueen.
Yeah.
So there's a car chase that takes place in a Guadalupe Canyon, which is like just a little stretch of road out here.
Ooh.
But I remember we used to drive out there to this little like hidden town, Brisbane, out here in San Francisco. And what we would do is turn the headlights off and it would just be pitch black.
Yeah.
And in my head, I just kept thinking like, oh, somebody driving down that road doing their own thing.
Yeah, their own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. The caution to the wind tale that is the Curse of Aurore, like the partying element, like Llana with the wine. That stuff is such a great part of the film. I don't know. Y'all killed it.
Thank you so much.
We didn't have to dig too deep to find that one, did we?
Yeah.
I've never gotten drunk on wine.
You never complain that all this is so hard and we work so hard. That's never happened before. Yeah.
Well, Llana, Mehran, again, thank you guys so much for joining. Again, we love the film. Apparently, I hated the film. I'll take the hit on that. But you guys, you got fans for life over here, and again, we'd love to talk to you again. But anything that you want to plug? I know that you said that Committed is out on YouTube, and we can get everybody to check out on that. What anything else you want to plug?
Just keep your eye out. We're hoping, right now we're working on getting Curse of Aurora released in the UK. That's kind of a priority. We've had a lot of people from overseas ask for it, so we're actually trying to self-distribute out there, and hopefully that'll happen. But yeah, I think just kind of keep your eye out, because we've got a bunch of stuff that is sort of in the writer's room that we're working on.
Yeah.
Lots of different,
and we do have that comedy.
Horror. We want to stay in the horror family for sure.
Yeah. I was going to say, we do have that comedy film, which we don't have any release information on, but possibly within the next year. So that's something, keep up with us on our social medias. I'm at Mehran Torgoley on Instagram, and we have a Curse of Aurora page on Facebook, and we have curseofaurora.com. So
Curse of Aurora is on Insta, Twitter, Facebook, all of it. And I guess a lot of people have been reviewing us on Letterboxd, or is that
cool?
Yeah, Letterboxd. Yeah. So
keep us updated with the comedy too. Like poke us, and we'll totally check that out.
Well, it's actually technically found footage because it's a mockumentary. So
right.
Oh.
Love it.